Camera angles are among the most potent tools in the visual grammar of cinema. While shot types determine how much of a subject or scene the audience sees, camera angles influence how the audience feels about what they see. From godlike high angles to oppressive low ones, the angle of the camera doesn't merely frame a subject, it frames a perspective, a power dynamic, and a point of emotional or thematic emphasis. In this module, we explore the complex interplay between camera angles and storytelling, diving into how angle choice alters meaning, reinforces narrative themes, reveals character psychology, and shapes viewer identification. Each angle, be it a high angle, low angle, Dutch tilt, or bird's eye view, carries psychological subtext and is rarely arbitrary. Instead, it's a deliberate tool wielded by directors and cinematographers to manipulate audience alignment, suspense, power structure, and spatial orientation. Going beyond mere definitions, this module dissects angles as instruments of subtext, symbolism, and effective manipulation. We examine iconic scenes across global cinema, explore the cultural variance in angle use, and investigate how directors such as Alfred Hitchcock, Akira Kurosawa, Kathryn Bigelow, Jordan Peele, and Bong Joon-ho wield angles to immerse, disorient, and enlighten. Learning objectives. By the end of this module, you will be able to define and classify the major camera angles used in cinema, interpret the psychological and emotional implications of different angles, analyze how angles affect the power dynamics and narrative point of view, evaluate the role of angle manipulation in audience alignment and genre tropes, apply angle theory in scene breakdowns, storyboarding, and shot design. Core content areas. 3.1 Fundamentals of camera angles. Definition. Camera angle refers to the position of the camera in relation to the subject. Differentiation between camera angle and shot size. Angle equals position, shot equals scale. How angle choice affects perspective, viewer empathy, and tone. 3.2 Primary camera angles and their psychological effects. Eye-level angle, neutral, balanced, realistic places viewer at the same level as subject. Often used in dialogue scenes and balanced interactions, maintains objectivity and symmetry. High angle. Camera looks down on subject. Suggests weakness, vulnerability, inferiority. Can represent surveillance, judgment, or emotional fragility. Common in war films, thrillers, and horror. Low-angle camera looks up at subject. Conveys power, intimidation, dominance, or grandeur. Often used to portray heroes, villains, or imposing structures. Popular in superhero, action, and political dramas. Bird's eye view, overhead angle, extreme high angle. Camera is directly above. Often symbolic or disorienting, may reflect fate, divine observation, isolation, or surveillance. Used in war films, tragedies, or surrealist cinema. Worm's eye view. Extreme low angle. Camera is almost ground level. Emphasizes scale, mystery, or vulnerability from a subordinate viewpoint. Used for dramatic entrances or overwhelming environments. Dutch tilt, oblique angle. Camera is tilted diagonally. Disorients viewer, implies unease, madness, tension, or instability. Common in horror, thrillers, psychological dramas, iconic in The Third Man, Inception, and 12 Monkeys Over the Shoulder, OTS, seen from behind a character's shoulder, useful in dialogues to establish spatial relations and point of view, conveys perspective without full subjectivity. Point of view, POV, angle, mimics what the character sees. Immerses viewer into the character's mindset, common in horror, action, and intimate emotional scenes. 3.3 Power, emotion, and perspective camera angles as indicators of power dynamics. Who holds control in the scene? Using angles to portray emotional states, instability, fear, determination, trauma, empathy, and alignment. How angles manipulate whose story we believe. 3.4 Angle theory across genres. Horror, Dutch tilts, high angles, and POVs to create fear and suspense. Drama, eye level and low angles to underscore realism and emotional weight. Action, low angles and overheads to dramatize movement and spatial layout. Comedy, exaggerated high-low angles and visual contrast for humorous effect. Documentary, eye-level and handheld POV for authenticity. 3.5 Cultural variations in angle use. Eastern versus Western cinema. Different approaches to power and hierarchy. The role of camera angles in post-colonial narratives and indigenous cinema. Gendered perspectives and the gaze in framing, especially in feminist and queer cinema. Case study examples: Citizen Kane, Orson Welles. Low angles emphasizing Kane's power and eventual downfall. The Lord of the Rings trilogy. Worm's eye views of towering structures and enemies. Inception, Christopher Nolan. Dutch angles conveying dream layer instability. Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee. Direct-to-camera low angles challenge social perspective. Parasite, Bong Joon-ho. High and low angles representing class disparity upstairs versus basement, practical applications scene analysis. You watch 2 to 3 minutes of a film and identify every change in angle, noting its emotional or narrative effect. Storyboard exercise. Draw a 5-panel storyboard where each shot uses a different angle to evoke escalating emotional tension. Key terms: Dutch tilt worm's eye view, subjective angle, psychological framing, dominance and subjugation in cinematography, cinematic empathy, visual irony through angles.